everyone, Kathy here. Today we're talking pork. Now, I love pork tenderloin, but it's one of those fiddly cuts of meat that can be tough to prepare and sometimes easy to overcook. And once you've overcooked it, it's tough, it's dry, and the flavor is just not good. So I'm going to show you 2 tricks to make sure you end up with moist and delicious flavor-packed pork tenderloin. First trick is the marinade. Now I'm going to use milk. This is a great tenderizer, and what's going to happen is the meat's fibers are going to swell, and that's going to really let them infuse with all the yummy seasonings from our marinade. And the second trick is temperature. You don't want the meat's internal temperature to rise above 62 degrees Celsius or 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Beyond that point, it's going to be tough. So you're going to need an instant read thermometer, and you're going to need to plan ahead. I like to let this marinate for 4 days, and trust me, it sounds like a long time, but it is so moist and so juicy, you can't believe it. So let's get this going. Add your garlic, thyme, mustard, and Worcestershire to a small bowl and just mix it up really well. Then season your pork loins on both sides with salt and pepper. And next, just divide that seasoning rub across the pork loins and then rub into both sides with the back of a spoon. Then just pop them into a Ziploc bag, pour in your milk, seal it up tightly, and let it sit in the fridge. Okay, cook's note. Even though I prefer to let this infuse for a few days, as I mentioned, I've also cooked it after just letting it marinate for a few hours in the fridge, and it's good, so you do have options there. Okay, when you're ready to cook, first preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Then heat your pan over medium-high heat and add your olive oil. Remove your pork loins from the marinade and set the marinade aside because you're going to use this later. Now, another cook's note here. Be sure to take your marinated pork loin out of the refrigerator 1 to 2 hours before cooking it to let it come to room temperature. This is going to help you reach that 62 degree mark internally without overcooking the outside. Okay, brown your pork loins on all sides. Give them about 3 minutes per side. And then just remove them to a plate and then add your diced onions to that pan. Now saute your onions for about 5 minutes and stir really well to get those yummy brown bits from the pork mixed in. Now we're going to deglaze our pan by pouring in some wine and scraping the pan to dislodge any last brown bits. Again, that's where a lot of the good flavor sits. Let the wine cook down and then pour in the reserved marinade. Bring this up to a boil, but you're going to want to be whisking constantly. And then cook this for a few minutes until the mixture starts to cook down and thicken a bit. Pour that mixture into a baking dish and then just snuggle your brown pork loins on top. Place this in the oven and cook for about 10 to 15 minutes. But this is where you need to be careful. Cooking times are going to vary with the thickness of the meat, so the real test of doneness is the internal temperature of the meat. Start checking the internal temperature with an instant read thermometer about after 10 minutes in the oven. Then remove the pork loin when the thermometer reads 62 degrees Celsius or 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Above this temperature, as I said before, you're just going to have overcooked pork, and again, it's going to be dry and it's going to be tough, and it's not going to be nice. All right, once you remove it from the oven, just cover it with foil and let the pork rest about 5 minutes. Then move it to a cutting board and carve it on the diagonal. Carving on the diagonal not only looks nice, it also gives you longer cuts against the grain, and that's going to help in creating tender bites. So I hope you enjoy this dish, and be sure to check out livinglekker.com for this recipe and many others.